but basically there was a photo on the wall, and there's a photo on the wall of a very scantily dressed female. What I did next is what sparked the debate amongst my peers. So you might think in that situation, okay, well, either you look at the photo or you don't. I found option three, and that was to rip the photo off the wall and throw it away. But two, out of respect for the woman in the photo, I chose to not participate in the objectifying and the spiritual abuse of objectifying her. So that's, I think, is the core of it.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Fatherhood Friday, brought to you by the Preacher Dad podcast. And today we have an episode for you about tearing the picture down. What does that mean? Well, you're going to have to listen to find out. But it's really about being intent and how far is too far when it comes to protecting ourselves and our brothers in Christ and our families from the onslaught of evil in the world. So I hope that you'll listen in, get some wisdom, enter the debate. And as always, this podcast is brought to you by Cornerstone Fellowship. Cornerstone Fellowship is a little church just a little north of Toomsboro, Georgia. You can find us online at cornerstonefellowship-ga.org. And we would love for you to come and check us out. You can listen to sermons, find out more about what we believe, and come on down and let us love you and point you to Jesus. Cornerstone Fellowship-ga.org. And without any further ado, let's find out how far is too far. Listen in. Welcome to Fatherhood Friday.
Well, hello, everybody. You've made it. Here it is. It's Fatherhood Friday, brought to you by the Preacher Dad podcast. My name is Jared, and I am one of the hosts here on the show. And my co-hosts tonight are Matt Stewart and Nate Eisner. And these are my very beloved brothers in the Lord. And we are all dads in various places and various situations in our lives. And we just want to encourage you tonight. And this evening, we're going to talk about, well, I'm not sure exactly how to set this up, Nate. Why don't you just go ahead and tell us the story and get us going here tonight?
Yeah. So this is something I threw out. We talked about this a little while back. This actually is a story that took place about 4 years ago, I'd say. I'm going to try and be somewhat discreet here and not name the precise location where this occurred for specific reasons.
Yeah,
but so I'll just jump right into it. So about 4 years ago, I took my family to a restaurant, and it was, it was any other day, and you do what you got to do before you leave. So I decided to go in for a restroom break. And when I walked in, I was a little bit rattled to see what I saw. And perhaps I'm a touch naive, but basically there was a photo on the wall. Let me back up a little bit. This particular restaurant is known for a lot of framed pictures and lots of decor. And so maybe that'll drop some hints as to where it was, but there's quite a few of them out there that do that, so good luck. But anyways, I walk in the restroom, and there's a photo on the wall of a very scantily dressed female. And perhaps I'm a touch naive when it comes to, I guess I'm still learning how depraved the world can be. And the thing is, the photo is not any worse than what you would see in a typical lingerie ad, walking through the mall, or what you would see, in maybe a department store. But the fact that it was just there and so blatant really caught me off guard, because I think the normalization of pornography in our culture, while it's been going on for a long time, it still caught me off guard. And so, as someone that has formerly dealt with pornography addiction, facing a situation like that behind closed doors in a single stall restroom, I think, for one, it's a test of integrity, because you're in a place where no one's looking. And so I've always I've always learned or was taught from my youth group age that it's not the first look that gets you in trouble, it's the second. And we're going to do a whole episode on, or probably two, on the issue of pornography and lust. Um, but I guess what I did next is what sparked the debate amongst my peers. So you might think in that situation, okay, well, either you look at the photo or you don't. I found option three, and that was to rip the photo off the wall and throw it away. And so the question, I guess, is yes, it's destruction of property, and that was something that I did because it may or may not have damaged some of the sheetrock in the process. But anyways, that happened, and it is what it is. So I guess the thing to do now is to kind of break down my thought process and reflecting on that moment, what drove me to do that. Um, for one, something that I always knew in the back of my mind when I was, a young lad in my high school years is I knew that every single one of these girls that is in the situation of the porn industry is one of God's daughters. Yet, when you're caught in sin, you do things that you're ashamed of. But I guess I'm kind of getting off topic here. But anyways, trying to see how I want to frame this a little bit better.
What was it about? What was it about that moment that just drove you to just rip the picture off the wall?
So knowing that, I guess I was going somewhere with that. I was telling them earlier, I kind of, in preparation for this episode, I kind of brain dumped onto a big PDF here, and I'm not super organized with it. It's just paragraph after paragraph. So finding myself here. But yes, thank you, Jared. Not only is it one of God's daughters, every single one of those women is another man's daughter. It's another woman's daughter. It's someone's sister. And whether they realize it or not, and we'll probably get into this. Not every woman in the porn industry is there by their own will, but whether many of them are, and whether they realize it or not, they have bought into a lie that tells them that they're not made in the image of God and that they're not worthy to be loved by a man, that they're not worthy or beautiful enough to be cherished. And that is something that is at the core of my beliefs. And so I think what drove me to take the picture down is, number one, out of respect for my wife. I chose to avert my eyes in the process of removing it. But two, out of respect for the woman in the photo, I chose to not participate in the objectifying and the spiritual abuse of objectifying her. So that's, I think, it is the core of it. And we can remember from Jesus's words that all physical symptoms and manifestations of sin are at a deeper root, and that is the heart. If you are angry with your brother without cause, you commit murder. If you look at a woman with lust, you commit adultery with her in your heart. And in that same light, I would say that participating in objectifying or condoning a woman that is participating in the act of pornography, you're participating in spiritual abuse. I would say you are in the spirit of abuse in that moment if you are choosing to condone that and participate in it. And so, out of respect to the woman, I took the photo down. Out of the thought and care for other men like myself that believe the way I do, and they themselves are trying to walk in purity, and who genuinely want women to see themselves as they were created in the image of God. I took it down for those men. I took it down for the high school boys that were once like me that would stumble because of a photo like that. I took it down for the prepubescent boy that has no business being exposed to something at such a young age. This is a public restroom. This is a place where, think about hundreds of people are going to go in and out of that single stall throughout any given day. And so that, I think, is the reason, reflecting on it, that drove me to do it. And I guess you can ask, well, I guess let me wrap up my thoughts here. at the end of the day, did I destroy someone else's property? Yes, I did. Does that open the conversation about how far is too far when it comes to Christians intervening in our godless culture? Absolutely, it does. In the grand scheme of life, did the message that I send by ripping the picture down, is that going to change the world? No, not at all. If anything, I probably upset the male employees. Sadly, they probably thought I just took it for myself, but they obviously didn't check the trash can, possibly. But what I did do, at the very least, is in the microscopic corner of society that is that public restroom, I removed a stumbling block for other people, and so that is where I've landed. I figure, at the very least, for those out there that have seen The Chosen, I mean, it's in the Gospels as well, but when I think The Chosen depicts it very well, when James and John want Jesus to call down lightning from heaven, and he has to shake his head at them and calls them the sons of thunder. I think I probably would have gotten a similar response from Jesus, where he physically standing next to me, kind of a easy there, tiger moment. But that's where I think I'll land on that. But I also have intentionally kind of waited to really think through the pros and cons of how far is too far, because I really wanted to flesh that out in this discussion. I'm really curious to hear what you guys have to say and what your thoughts are on the matter.
So you don't regret it, Nate, right?
I, at this moment, would say no, I do not regret it.
Yeah.
It's an intriguing question, because the father in me and the warrior in me says, I just cheer for you in that moment to, take it to him. But then there's another part of me that says, I'm not sure how persuasive that is. I don't know if it's too far or not. I've never been one really to damage property. Felt like I ought not to. But I certainly am not above civil disobedience or, even breaking the law if it means, following Christ. Certainly, Peter and John said very clearly, we cannot follow man and disobey God. We have to obey God first rather than men. And so, things like this is really a deep question, because men like Dietrich Bonhoeffer wrestled with this question about, is it a righteous thing to murder a wicked man? They were not dealing with anything. People accuse everybody of being a Nazi. They
Sure.
were actually dealing with real life Nazis and an actual monster in Adolf Hitler, who, he was involved in conspiring to assassinate Adolf Hitler. And I think I would have supported that. I think it would have been on his side and helped them. But that is not the position many Christians take. And even Christians in Bonhoeffer's day were opposed to that, adamantly opposed to it. You should not kill at all anyone, even the most wicked men of our society. So it's kind of a catch-22.
Hey folks, I want to tell you about 7 Weeks Coffee. They are a company that believes every life is worth fighting for. When you purchase 7 Weeks Coffee, you're directly helping to fund their network of over 750 pro-life organizations across the country. That's because with every purchase of their delicious coffee, 7 Weeks is donating 10% of that sale to pro-life pregnancy centers that reach women and men in crisis every day. In the last 2 years, 7 Weeks Coffee has donated $250,000 to help save the lives of children and also rescue their parents from years of regret and suffering. But you don't have to endure poor quality coffee to make a difference. Their coffee is harvested in the most organic way possible, and you can taste the difference in every sip. It really is quite good, folks. I really am loving this coffee. These coffee beans are mold and toxin free, and they use organic farming practices and the coffee is ultra low in acid. When a baby reaches 7 weeks from conception, it is the size of a coffee bean, and that is also the point at which a heartbeat is first detectable. 7 Weeks Coffee is committed to the pro-life cause, and you can get an outstanding product while contributing to the important work of pregnancy centers across the United States. Now, in order to get 10% off, you can go to preacherdad.com and use my special link, or you can go to 7weekscoffee.com and use the promo code PREACHERDAD for 10% off. And then you can join me in saving lives one cup of coffee at a time. Go to 7weekscoffee.com today and use the promo code PREACHERDAD.
Yeah, I was just thinking about what I would do in a situation like that. And if I would have had like my son with me and I saw it, I would obviously, I think I would just say, look, don't go in that stall. If you're going to go over here in this one, don't, whatever. And if that was the only one to go in, I might have done the same thing. I don't know. But yeah, I agree. We do have to go to kind of extraordinary measures at times to protect our children and our family.
Nate, I think that if I were in that place, I think I maybe would have taken the picture down and then taken $20 to the manager and said, "This is for the stall in the bathroom."
Yeah.
And walked out. Like,
Yeah.
here, I'm compensating you. I'm going to actually pay for your repairs, but don't you dare put a picture like that up on the wall again. That's the kind of, to me, I think that's a
balanced,
that's a godly, manly thing to do, to tear the picture down.
Yeah.
But then to also maintain a positive Christian testimony with unbelievers is to say, okay, out of my own pocket, here you go.
Yeah.
Here's some money to help pay for repairs. But I'm not apologizing.
That's solid.
And I think that more men need to have that attitude. It needs to be more, everybody talks about being nice, and, we don't need to be nicer than God, kind of stuff people say. I think that we should be less weak. I think being nice is fine. Nice has a negative connotation now, but there's a difference between being weak and being polite. I think it's okay to be polite, and it's good to be polite.
Well, there's a difference between nice and kind.
That's a good way to say it too. And I don't like making nice a negative. But
that's true.
But we don't need to necessarily redefine that word as a negative word. But we do need to identify the negative attitude in men that causes them to be, really soft on sin, and really, being willing to justify people's misbehavior. And, let's try to, find a good reason why that was justified behavior. You just need to call sin by its rightful name, and that's in the scripture too. A man who calls sin by its rightful name is to be praised. And so we need to, I think his name is Nick Freitas.
Mm-hmm.
He does some stuff on social media, which is hilarious, but it's also courageous to just say the truth and speak the truth for what it is and call out sin. And we need more of that in our society. And so my feeling is, tear the picture down, take it down, fight back. And, if that means a little civil disobedience, it means a little bit of, bending some rules, then so be it. We're talking about our kids' hearts.
Yeah.
We're talking about our brothers' soul.
I figured we might get into this on the porn episode, and we certainly ought to, because I don't have the stats in front of me, but I was doing some research on this in prep for this, and the psychological impact that it has on a prepubescent child to be exposed to pornography. Or, I mean, let's be real, pornography is not just full blown nudity. Um, but the early exposure has lasting psychological impact on children that are exposed to it before puberty. Um, Obviously, stress. It's probably not quite as intense as full blown assault, but it absolutely can be scarring and can cause a trauma response. And so, I mean, that alone, and that's the thing, like how far, well, it's so pervasive in our culture. And I guess it has been, but it seems to be getting worse and worse to the point where now that the age that it seems to be acceptable to present this to children seems to be getting lower and lower and lower, um, across the board with all things. You even just look at like movie ratings for um, uh, uh, you think about like what a PG movie was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. There's some PG movies now that it's amazing they're not PG-13, if not R. And so it's just so pervasive. And like I said, it's always been at the mall, walking by the lingerie store. It's always been on billboards. It's on pop-up ads. And so, how the question is like, how do you fight it? But aside from Christian men standing up and acting like men. And it's going to be small steps. But this is also part of probably a bigger conversation um, of strengthening the church and men showing up in the church and beginning to act like men, because really the church can have a massive impact on society. It's certainly felt like we've been the losing team for a while, but it does not have to stay that way. And that kind of change, especially when it comes to our influence on society and culture, is not going to happen overnight, but we cannot give up the fight in doing so. And I don't believe we will, because, well, that's probably a different conversation with eschatology
Well,
and such, but,
I think what you're talking about is, what difference does taking one picture down in one stall make?
yeah, yeah,
And the answer to that is, if every Christian man took down every nasty picture in every bathroom stall they went into, that would make a big difference.
true.
And it's not my job to handle every picture out there. It's my job to handle the ones in my sphere.
True.
Mm-hmm.
And it's my job to handle my wall. In the Bible, in the book of Nehemiah, the walls of Jerusalem had been torn down, and the enemies of Jerusalem could come and go as they pleased, and wild animals coming in and out. And so Nehemiah says, we got to build this wall back up, but we also have to defend our homes at the same time.
Yeah.
And so each man was responsible for his section of the wall. And each man had to not only repair his area near his home, but he also had to defend that section as well.
Mm.
And there's no way that just one of them could have done that entire incredible task.
Right.
But all of them working together, each one taking their part of the wall, meant that the wall got built in record time, and meant that the people were protected at the same time.
Mm.
And so as men, I can't do your job. I don't live where you guys live. You don't live where I live, but I need to take care of my part of the wall. And I think all of us Christian brothers and those Christians listening to this podcast today, we all need to take care of our spot of the wall, and be willing to be courageous when it comes to pushing back and fighting back against the onslaught of wickedness in our society. Yeah. So that's, it can be, if we let ourselves think, what big difference does this make? Why should I take the time to take down one photo? Well, it can make a big difference when everybody does their part in their area. So I
Yeah.
think that's the mindset we should have.
And I think that goes as far as to even being vocal about it to your peers. Um, I know there have been moments where I have asked someone not to show me raunchy images on a cell phone anymore after he was showing it to multiple people in the working environment that we were in. And, that's probably an uncomfortable thing to do, but again, you have to have the courage to speak up for your beliefs. Um, yeah.
Matt, do you have any insight to give us here?
No, I was just trying to think of some other examples of times that, something like that might come up. It could be in a restaurant and they've got TVs going and something's on that
Yeah.
shouldn't be shown. Going not rip the the TVs off the wall,
Yeah, but
but
ask the manager.
yeah, go talk to them and ask them to change it. Um, there was one more too, but I can't remember. But yeah, I agree with you. Just we do need to be courageous. I
Here's
really can't think of anything I've done like that.
here's one that
And
comes up around here sometimes is when I'm there with my wife or my children. If someone nearby is swearing or using foul
yeah,
language, to be willing and courageous enough to say, "Excuse me, my family can hear what you're saying. Would you please stop?"
Yeah.
hmm
And I think that would go a long way if men would be willing to stand up and have courageous conversations about doing that.
Yeah.
But Matt, that's a good example. Be willing to say, "Excuse me, that is offensive to me. Would you please change the channel?" Or just basically be willing to call it out, to
right.
Yeah.
confront sin. We need more people. We need more men, especially, who are willing to be confrontational when they stop and here we go again. They stop being nice and they start being manly. You know,
Yeah.
not that nicety keeps you. I don't want to offend. It keeps you from being courageous to confront the
Right.
problem. You need to stand up and kindly confront the problem.
Yeah.
And manliness and masculinity is a good thing. It's a
Thank
Yes.
good
you.
thing. We need more of it. You're right.
We should be encouraging it. We should be encouraging it in our sons
Yeah.
and in ourselves, and displaying it for our sons, because
Mm.
that's really how a boy learns to be a man, is by watching his father behave.
Yeah.
However his father behaves is either an advantage or a disadvantage to him
Yeah.
in his development of manliness.
Sort of off topic, but today was a snow day, and so we watched the second half of a movie called Big Country. Y'all ever heard of
Hmm.
that old Western
No.
movie?
I've heard the name.
Big Country, but anyway, we all liked it, all of my kids, but um, the main character, they wanted him to they wanted him to fight somebody. They wanted him to to shoot in a duel. They wanted him to do all of these things, and they kept making fun of him. And his fiance left him because he wasn't being manly or he wasn't being
Mm.
normal or whatever. But in fact, it showed he was having a ton of self control, and and so anyway, he didn't do just what people wanted him to do. He didn't give in to their demands. He stood his ground. And at one point, she's like, "Do you not care what I think?" And he's like, "Well, I care about doing what's right." And I did not
Mm.
think fighting him was the right thing to do right then and there. So anyway, it's a good little lesson
Yeah.
for my son. Like, being a man,
Yeah.
sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you have to fight, but other times you have to. It's just self control, and you got to
Right.
you know do something different. But anyway,
Good stuff.
I'm good.
Well, thank you guys, and hopefully, we have encouraged someone out there to have some courage, to be confrontational, and to be willing to push some boundaries when it comes to standing up for what is right and what is true. And what we would love to know what you think. So if you would like to comment on this video, if you're watching it, or if you're listening to the podcast, or maybe you'd like to just send us an email, you can sure do that. The email address is dads, DADS, at preacherdad.com. dads@preacherdad.com. We would love to hear from you and know what you think about whether or not this is a important thing for us to be doing. Would you tear the picture down? What would your solution be? Let us know. And while you're letting us know, you might as well just click that subscribe button. It's really easy. Just click and you're done. And that would make our day and really help us out. So God bless you. And we look forward to sharing more with you next time on Fatherhood Friday. Thanks so much for tuning in.